very happy to have him join us and carve out some time for us. U.S. Representative Mark Pocan from the 2nd Congressional District is here. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jane. Thanks for having me. And tough moment in our district yesterday. So still dealing with a lot of that and trying to get more information.
We were talking about that before you joined us. We've spent most of the hour talking about that. And I just think, Representative, people are so frustrated by the lack of action. And when we are told things like, well, this is the price you pay for freedom, and this is, my Second Amendment shall not be infringed. And there are so many things I think a vast majority of Americans agree on when it comes to universal background checks and red flag laws. And yet this happens over and over and over again.
Look, I think we got to take it a step up. This is a uniquely American problem. So we have to look at what we're doing wrong as a country. We have more guns than people. We've had 480 mass shootings so far this year, 80 school shootings this year. Look, this is a problem. And first you have to accept the problem. And then we got to figure out what we got to do. During COVID, we all stepped up and did things. Whenever there's an epidemic, you do something. We have an epidemic of gun violence right now, and we need to talk seriously about how to do that. From there, we got to get the policymakers and the state legislature in Washington to do something. But honestly, first, we have to do something. I mean, the saddest thing that's happened, well, not the saddest, but one of the saddest in the last 24 hours is we had some media yesterday, national media outlets call back and cancel some interviews today. I don't care for me. I want them to talk about the issue. But it was because they said it was only 2 deaths, not 5 as originally reported. If that's the attitude, that's actually the problem, and we got to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's horrifying.
Tell me about it.
That's just horrifying.
Yep.
So now we only care if it's like 6 or 10. That's really sickening.
Yeah, no, that was my attitude, and I'm not calling them out by name, but I've called them out pretty much in every interview since then, because it is precisely the problem. I mean, this shooting is a 15-year-old girl. I don't think you're going to find a magnificently written manifesto that's going to point directly to the reason. But if you can't take your kid to school and know that they're going to come home at the end of the day, we have a problem. And this has happened 80 times this year, 480 mass shootings this year. It's uniquely a United States problem. We have to start with that, and then let's get something done on this.
Representative Pocan, if people call their lawmakers, does that make a difference? If we flood offices with phone calls about this, would that actually make anybody sit up and take notice?
I think you flood not just elected officials, but flood the media, flood others with it too. We have to start talking about this as a problem that, it's good to be number one when you're America, but not in this area. And this is a number one we should all be really deeply embarrassed by and want to do something about. But we've got to have a different societal approach towards guns and gun violence. And until we do, there's plenty of politicians that are going to do whatever the gun manufacturers say, because that's who funds their campaigns and that's who they feel the political pressure from. But more so, we have to care enough that we force those politicians to stand up to the gun manufacturers.
Something else we spoke about earlier, Congressman, was the fact that, a 15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old child doesn't wake up one day and decide to walk into their school and start causing this kind of horrific damage and violence. It's another discussion point as far as mental health in this country as well, is another talk that we just can't seem to get on.
Well, it's always talked about, and we need more funding. And then when it actually comes time to come up with the bucks, then that all goes away.
Well, and also when I was a kid, we had tornado drills and we went under the desk, and maybe that wasn't the most useful thing against a tornado, but right now they have shooter drills in school. Yeah. Like, this is a different reality that we are just accepting, and there's no reason to be accepting this. And I do think that the pressure has to be in a lot of places. At least for me, we have these moments of silence. We're going to do one today for this shooting on the floor of Congress, and there'll be no moment of action after that. So,
right.
I've done this so many times in the 12 years I've been here. I can't tell you how frustrating that is, but more importantly, we have to accept that this is a national problem more than any elected officials. This is our problem, and we all better figure out how to embrace it.
Go to myvote.wi.gov, put in your address. That will bring up the addresses and phone numbers of all your elected representatives. Call them, write them, be polite, be respectful. But you're right, Representative, we can't just sit back and go, well, that was another one. Tomorrow's another day. We have to keep up. We have to get some pressure going and keep that pressure going if anything is ever going to change in this country.
And I give credit to law enforcement too. When they were asked the question, shouldn't that school have been more fortified? No, we shouldn't have to fortify every school. What
Yes.
next? Every hospital, what's next? Every gas station? No. Maybe we just address the problem instead of putting everything into a fortress in this country. So again, we got to accept that we have a unique problem on this planet, and it's not good to be number one in this category and do something about it.
We're not going to have enough time to roast Louis DeJoy over the coals, unfortunately, and talk about the potential of privatizing the post office. We will have to have you back for that. Representative Mark Pocan with the 2nd Congressional District, thank you so very much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you.